And Democrats on Capitol Hill are demanding answers from the FBI after the agency disclosed how limited its investigation was into the background of then Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh following sexual misconduct allegations. In a letter to Congress, the FBI did acknowledge that it conducted only 10 additional interviews during its follow-up of the investigation into Kavanaugh, even though they received more than 4,500 tips. The FBI also disclosed the most relevant tips were actually handed over to the White House counsel's office that was led by Don McGahn at the time. He was also tasked with ushering Kavanaugh through that confirmation process on Capitol Hill. Kavanaugh was ultimately confirmed as an associate justice by a narrow vote of 50-48. Joining me now is New York Times reporter Kate Kelly. She's the co-author of the book, The Education of Brett Kavanaugh, an Investigation. Also joining us, former U.S. attorney and MSNBC legal analyst Barbara McQuade. Great to have both of you with us. Kate, I'll begin with you. The FBI saying that the most relevant tips of that 4,500 or so that they received were actually referred to the White House lawyers in the Trump administration. Do we know what the White House team did with those tips and leads?
We don't, Eamon, and that's one of the big mysteries that I think these Senate Democrats are hoping to solve. Granted, the time frame for this entire inquiry was about 6 days, so it was awfully short. It's sort of hard to imagine that there was too much follow-up just in the interest of time. Not to mention, we know that the president, Don McGahn, who you mentioned was the White House counsel at the time, and many Republicans in the Senate were very eager to see then Judge Kavanaugh confirmed. So there may not have been a will to do that. But to be clear, we don't exactly know what became of those tips once they reached the office of the general counsel there.
So, Barbara, what do we make of these revelations in the broader context of the confirmation process? Not maybe specifically for him, but what should we take away from this whole process?
Well, I think like many aspects of our government, we have discovered yet another fault line that has been exploited by Donald Trump. And maybe we ought to reconsider how we do things. When background investigations are done, they're very different from a typical criminal investigation. When the FBI is investigating a bank robbery or sex trafficking, they are gathering all of the evidence and taking it where it leads, ultimately making a recommendation to a prosecutor about what charges maybe should be filed. In this instance, the case is really controlled by the client. The client is the entity that has requested the FBI to conduct the background investigation. Here, it's the White House. And so the White House can limit the scope. They can say, thanks for all that information, and we are not interested anymore. In most administrations, the White House wants to learn every fact they can about a nominee before they nominate them to determine, one, whether they're fit for office, and two, whether they might cause any political problems if their background problems are exposed to the country. And so we see this FBI investigation serving the White House. But did the Senate get the information it wanted or needed so it could exercise its advice and consent role? And I think that's the part that seems to be lacking here, and where perhaps we were a little bit led astray by what the FBI was doing when it conducted this investigation.
Yes. OK, let me pick up on that point that Barbara made about the Senate and their advice and consent role in all of this. And looking forward, what do we know about what happens next? Does this in any way change anything for Justice Kavanaugh and his confirmation as a Supreme Court justice?
Well, I asked Senators Blumenthal and Whitehouse about this when I spoke to them for this article. Why now? What is your objective? And they said, look, our trust in the FBI as people who have to confirm federal appointees to the court, as well as to the Justice Department and other senior positions, has really been eroded by this experience. So at a minimum, they're hoping, it seems, for more transparency. They're hoping for more explanations. Shortly after receiving this letter from the FBI, which was dated late June, they fired back on Wednesday night, the 21st, 7 Senate Democrats on the Judiciary Committee saying, we'd like to get yet more information about what was done with these tips. Senator Whitehouse, who sort of led the charge with this letter writing, said that essentially he wants to know, why would you bother setting up a tip line such as this if you're not, practically speaking, going to follow up on those tips? And we spoke about what Barbara just alluded to, which is, in effect, the White House was the client. So you can understand the FBI's logic that information went back to the client in this case. And he said, well, and of course, he's a former U.S. attorney himself. He said, if you have derogatory information about a person that you're investigating, at a minimum, the FBI should do additional due diligence, follow up on leads, even only in the interest of giving a fuller report to what in this case was the client, which is the White House. But for his part, he certainly feels like he would have liked to have more information going into the confirmation. And many of his colleagues seem to feel the same.